Today on Ron Siegel Radio, we are thrilled to be joined by the dynamic Kohila Sivas, a visionary in education and coaching with over 2 decades of experience. Kohila has redefined the way we approach parenting, learning, and personal growth. She's here to talk about the difference between proactive and reactive parenting and how you can create a more successful and harmonious family life. So, good morning, Kohila. How are you this morning?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you with us. So what is, first, I guess we're going to start off by defining what is proactive and what is reactive parenting.
Proactive is what we don't do as parents because we're always guarding and guiding our children in a way that we don't allow them to make a mistake, right? We want to protect them. So it comes from us wanting to protect them. We start reacting to what's happening to them. When I say proactive, it's already, we know it's going to happen. Something is going to happen with our children, and we wait for them to act and see what they're doing so we can pre-plan and set a stage for our children as well, right? So it's actually, I've already, like, for example, it's better if I give an example. For example, my son is going to go to university next year or college because he's in grade 12. So as a reactive parent, I could be with him today, looking at all the places he has to go and doing all the work for him and doing all the action for him. Instead, I'm staying back and I'm guiding him to choose, where do you want to go? What would you like to do? Right? We give them that space, them to explore their decisions and their actions. Whereas an active parents or reactive parents is all over the child and they're doing it for them. We don't allow the child to make decisions. We don't allow them to make mistakes. So that's what I mean by the difference between reactive and proactive, is a parent who allows their children to make mistakes.
So the reactive allows them to make mistakes, or the proactive allows them?
The proactive allows, because we're not doing it for them. We're not doing it with them. We're a guide on the side.
Okay, so I'm glad you clarified, because I would have thought that the proactive is the one that's saying, trying to teach them ahead of time. You don't want to touch the fire because it's hot. And reactive is, you just burned yourself. I told you don't do that.
There is a part of already preparing your child to front-loading them, but we don't want to front-load them so they don't experience life as it's supposed to be, right? I can't front-load, or I can't proactively involve in my child's life when they're adults, right? So we need to allow a space for them to explore on their own.
Okay, interesting. So you're allowing them to make mistakes, and then are you at what? So what are you doing once they've made the mistake? Do you let them figure out how to solve it themselves, or are you kind of going in and guiding?
We will guide them. That's what parents' job is, to guide them. So we don't fix it. We will guide them, for sure.
Okay, don't fix it. Okay, just let them fix it themselves, but give them the tools to do it. Yes.
The ultimate duty of a parent is to make their children independent as possible. Not dependent. Not dependent, right?
So how did you get involved in all this?
I have children myself. I've been with other people's children, over 1,600 plus students, which are my children in a way, with them. Wow. Caring for them, taking care of their education side. So I've been involved in the education for so long that I've just worked with so many families.
Yeah, that's an interesting scenario, because my wife and I have talked about that, and we haven't worked with 1,600. We've only dealt with 3, so we're a little ways behind you. But you learn an awful lot as being a parent, and there's really not. I don't know. There's a million books out there, but you're always looking and saying, okay, what's the right one? Where do we get the right information to try and guide the kids? How do you coach, or do you coach people on this, or what is your process?
Yeah, I do have programs for parents. I just launched a book in February called Cracking the Parenting Codes. Okay. Basically, what I'm seeing right now in our society is that parents are not parenting anymore. Many families are not parenting their kids. There is a whole movement of being a gentle parent. Positive parenting is the new movement right now. So what that does is, we're not giving our children anything to ground themselves. We're not giving them a structure. A lot of parents are leaving it up to the child. That is a disaster for the child, because the children need structure. They need grounding, right? They need that from their caretakers or who love them. Gentle parenting is good. It's it's great, but there has to be a balance between it. So that's why I launched the book Cracking the Parenting Code, to help bring back the fundamentals of parenting back into some of the parents' life and these families, because they are struggling, and it shows up great deal in the school environment when these children come to school, and teachers can deal with all of it as well. So that we have a big problem that's surfacing for a while now. So we need to really educate parents, we really educate the teachers and help them, and go back to the fundamentals.
That's an interesting concept, going back to the fundamentals. I want to talk to you about that when we come back. Continuing our conversation this morning, Kohila Sivas is with us. We're chatting about raising kids and structure and 16. It's funny that a comment you made in the last segment, Kohila, is, many of us have experience, especially if you're old like me, but you've got some experience in kids. I've got experience with 3. I've watched family and friends and the different things that they've done. But when you start getting to a study size that you just mentioned, 1,600, that's a whole different stratosphere, where you've had the opportunity of seeing what works, what doesn't work. And I know when I was growing up, gentle parent, we didn't have gentle parenting. I think the difference between gentle parenting and everything else was, if I got the wrong look from my mom, that was gentle parenting. And structure meant my dad came in and I got a few swats to reinforce mom's look.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that is the structure, the giving not hurting, but a timely swats, is that beneficial? Does that do anything, or am I just old?
The structure I meant is not, I grew up in a family where, hitting was okay, right? Those times. I'm not saying those strict, forceful way of parenting is the right way to do it. I meant, when I said structure, is setting a boundary for our children to, explore the world, so that they actually know that boundary, and you don't need to be there to tell them all the time that, you're not supposed to do that, or I'm going to hit you if you do that. That was the old way of parenting, right? For me, the new way of parenting is still implementing a boundary for them, because if I don't have a boundary, I'm not sure yet, because I'm still a young person. I don't know this world. So my parents will know what's the safe boundary for me to explore. That's what I mean. So that's the grounding I'm talking about. That's the structure I'm talking about. And that's the way to be proactive with your children, is to draw those boundaries so our children can explore it without fear.
So is there any consequences for violating the boundary?
That would be something that the parents could have conversation with the child if they do pass that boundary. Like, for example, a lot of these parents on social media right now is saying that I can't get my child to be off of their phone, and they're not doing any work. They're 24/7 on. This is the extreme cases, right? They're on their phone and devices. How do I do it? I don't have any control. I don't have any way of getting them off. So now that is a boundary that was never discussed, right? We give these tools to our kids, and we just leave them. We should set up a boundary. What is your boundary? So for my son, the boundary is that after this hour, you're not supposed to touch this device, because that's a tool that needs to be turned off. It's a tool that I don't like to be in your bedroom, because I don't know who can come and visit you in your bedroom on your phone, because I trust you, but I don't trust the phone. So these are boundaries I'm setting up, so I don't need to be on top of him all the time going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you at? I don't need to nag him. He knows the boundaries. If he goes off of it, he knows that tool is mine. It's not his, because I bought it.
Okay. So from my world or my perspective, the consequence is if he violates your boundary, the device might disappear from his possession.
Yeah, and that's due to safety, right? All of it comes down to us building our children up to be the adult, they can exist in this world and they can function normally. If we're not giving those boundaries, they're going to be, now we have household of kids that are on the phone, on the device, on the console playing, and the parents don't even know how to get them off. They're like, get away from me, don't talk to me. Now they lost all control. Now how do we correct that?
Well, one of the things that you and I are talking about right now is, I guess, a issue of the fortunate, right? There's a lot of less fortunate people out there that listen to radio and listen to us on our broadcasts. Their kids, they don't have the wherewithal for their kids to have the phones and the iPads and all that. Do you use the same issues for the affluent and the non-affluent alike?
Yeah, all children need boundaries set by adults. Actually, they enjoy the boundaries because they don't know what's safe for them, right? And if we leave them all to, you figure it out, I'm not going to set any boundaries. Now, they don't know how far they should go to explore it. But having that gives them that, also the feeling that I love you, I care about you. The boundary is set because I love you.
That's an interesting concept, because a lot of people think that by being a pacifist, that the child is going to feel the love, as opposed to, my belief is, and I think so others, is that the kids do want a boundary. They appreciate the fact that they don't get to do everything that they want to do, that there's some guidance in there.
They love it. They love, and that's what grounds them. It grounds them so much that they don't have to take this whole world at one time. Like, there's a structure, there's a, step by step, we take the baby step to explore the world, right? So they love it. That's
to me, that's a very important part that's missed a lot right now, is the idea that, there's so many areas that in our world, people are believing that the kids are able to consume everything all at one shot, instead of giving them, bite-sized pieces that you just mentioned.
Yeah, very important. That's also a structure that a parent proactively should design.
How did you get into all this, Kohila?
I'm a suicide survivor, so I did have a bad childhood in terms of, my dad was alcoholic. So I knew that that's not how I wanted to parent. After surviving the suicide attempt, I fell in love with math. It became a therapy for me. So I really cracked the codes of math. So I can teach math to anybody. People come to me, they say, my child cannot learn math ever again because some people told them that. I say, no, you can learn math, because I was never good at anything either. But there's a way to learn, right? We don't teach our students how to learn. We just tell everyone what to learn. Like, the education system is designed to show people what to learn. But there's a way that I learn, and there's a way that you learn. There's a way that every child learn. For me, that is the code that I look for. How do you learn? I'm always curious about, with every child, how do you learn? And from there, we build a program. Now I have expanded into not just working with math and learning to learn, but now I train other teachers and educators in my methodology. I have a methodology that teaches teachers how to really be curious about how a child learns. And this looks beyond all labels. We don't care what you're identified as. You have ADHD, you have autism, you have learning disability. My method doesn't look at any of that. I just look at the child and go, how do you learn? And
do I have to be an expert in reading the child in order to become a teacher of this process, or does your courses help me to figure out, in my case, it would be like my grandkids. Do I have to, how would I know what's their methodology? I know that I don't learn from reading, because I'm a poor reader. I learn from listening. You say something, I hear it, I take it in. I'm a audio and visual learner.
Yeah. It goes beyond that, because we all have our own mind print. Our the way our brain is wired and how we work. We look at that. So it is a training. What I have developed is a neurological training. We work at the neurological level to rewire the neurological path. So it's a permanent results and a transformation. So that's what the coaches and teachers that go through my program get certified as. After that, they get to work with the families, delivering whatever support they need. It could be parenting support, it could be subject-based support, or it could be their IEP, right, which is the every child gets one if they are labeled with some sort of learning disability. But unfortunately, those never get met at the school system. They're done, get the funding, but as much as possible, it doesn't get implemented with the child. Very little gets implemented. The child still needs help. And the help is, how do you learn is the biggest help anyone can do, is be curious about that child. Because when we put labels, we tend to just follow what the label says. And under the label, now you're going to do this. For me, it never worked like that. For me, it's always like, how do you learn?
That's a whole different process, because in the schools, you really can't do that in a school. And if you got a class of 25, how do you deal with every individual? But I want to talk more about that when we come back. Continue our conversation with Kohila Sivas. We're talking about learning, educating our young folks. So, Kohila, what is mind soil cultivation? Explain that one to me. I'm not sure. Mind soil cultivation.
Clear. We have become, we stopped being curious about how someone learns, because we're in the school system. We go through a pre-designed model that we have to all mold through, right? At the end of the day, we all have to function the similar way. But we're not, though. We're so different. All of us are so different. How can we mold into the same people at the end of the day, right? So this is why the education system's not working for so long for many of us. So the mind soil cultivation, I look at it as, we're sending messages to these students, we're sending information to these students, but the students are not ready to receive them. Right now, the school system is in such a mess. They're just basically taking care of behaviors of students and managing the behaviors right now. There's not very little learning that's happening in classrooms. Why? Because the mind soil of those students are not ready. And we don't even care about it. We keep sending information. The kids are saying, I don't want this information. I don't know why you're sending these information to me. Why should I learn these? And we just say, it's the curriculum. You have to learn it. That's not an answer. That's just doesn't, these days kids are so smart than we think. So what I do with my students is, I don't begin by sending information to them. We get curious about, how do you learn? We want to figure out their mind print first. So what I think of that as a cultivating the soil. So if a farmer wants to plant something, he doesn't just go onto any land and start planting and thinks that he's going to harvest, right? He's got to prepare the soil first. The soil preparation is first. Then you can plant the seeds. Then you can expect a full harvest. Same way with students, we need to take care of their mind first before we can expect them to learn anything. So there's no point in sending information, pushing them to learn, telling them it's the curriculum, you have to learn it, otherwise, you're in trouble. None of this is going to work. You have to prepare their mind soil. So that's part of our process, is, how do we prepare this mind soil? We take care of that. And then when the child prepares their mind, they're ready to receive, they learn it on their own. They're intrinsically motivated. They want to learn. No one is forcing or pushing information at them. They know why they're learning. They know how to learn. They want to learn. So this is what's missing in our education system. And that's why I left the education system 12 years ago, and I created the methodology and the way. And now we have over 300 plus teachers and educators trained under our methodology to serve these students.
So how does a teacher and educators deal with this when they're working? Because they've got the students for most of the time, all they have is a student for a year.
Yep.
So how are you helping? I guess you almost have to do it either from a whole school standpoint or from a process or homeschooling. How are you dealing with getting teachers educated in this?
Yeah, good question. So at the moment, the methodology and how these 300 plus educators are helping is, they're implementing it as much as possible in the classroom. Also, they're starting their own business to serve them from the outside. So we serve from the outside. Sometimes, in a system like the education system, which is so developed and so advanced, and so many stakeholders' opinions matters, you can't just take something and implement it right away. It takes time. So we decided to fix the education from the outside. It hasn't fully gone inside the classrooms yet because I don't think it's ready yet. It's going through its turbulence right now. So that's why we help from the external, and we have been helping, hundreds of families now. We want to help millions of families. That's my mission. In that time, we're also helping the parents and families who need the help. We have free coaching for parents and students. They can come and through our paid forward program, right? So we actually are doing, for you were asking about, what about the parents who don't have money, how do they get this help? We have free service for that as well. So to find all of that, they can just go to kohilasivas.com, and they can just click, there's a link there for the parents to sign up, and all they need to do is sign up, and we'll provide them with free coaching. And exactly this coaching and the powerful method that we created. So to answer your question, we're not in the school system 100%. Some teachers are using it in the classrooms, but many are just doing it from the outside on their own.
Interesting. It's fascinating. So we took, I don't think we put that website on there. Josh, put up this site that we have, that we set up a link, rsrlinks.com/learning, rsrlinks.com/learning. And that goes to, I think, a different site of yours, Kohila.
Yeah, Learning Success Academy.
Okay, and that's different than kohilasivas.com, right?
Yeah, I created one for today and for events that I'm attending, because basically this link has all of the things that we offer. So there's a magazine that we are launching October 15th for parents. So they can get that for free by signing up. They can sign up for this coaching if you're a parent who's in need and you want support for your children. We have that for free. And then if you want, for profit, we have coaching as well for parents looking for that. So I just put all of it in one place. That's what this is.
Beautiful. Okay, so rsrlinks.com/learning. You can get all of that information from Kohila. We're going to obviously have all of the information right here at our station as well. And Kohila, we didn't get to half the stuff we wanted to talk about. So
Yes.
Hopefully we can get you to come back in again and chat with us. Because we've had a couple of different organizations come on that are very simpatico with what you're doing. As you probably heard in some of our commercials, we are working with First Home IQ because we know that a lot of young people don't have any clue about mortgages and buying a house, and we want to educate there. Maybe we're not even educating them the right way, but we're trying. And another organization, protectourkidsnow.com, is another one that we've had come on to try and help the kids get educated as opposed to indoctrinated, which we see so much in the schools right now. But I hope you'll come back on and continue our conversation in the future, and let us try and do what we can to help you in your mission, because it sounds to me like you're doing some great things and trying to help educate young people, educate parents, because there's so many books out there, and there's, in my opinion, a lot of them are giving people the wrong information about educating their kids and guiding their kids. And we need more people like you out there trying to make a difference. So really appreciate you coming in. Again, rsrlinks.com/learning will get you to Kohila.